The transport shuttle landed softly on the white platform. The doors opened with a quiet hiss. Inside the Galactic Integration Academy, hundreds of alien students stopped what they were doing. They all turned to look at the new arrival. Hannah stepped out of the shuttle. She was a young woman, 23 years old, with black hair tied back in a simple ponytail. She wore the standard gray uniform of the academy. Her eyes moved slowly across the massive hall, taking in the strange sights around her. She was the first human to ever attend this school. The academy was famous across the galaxy. It trained the best diplomats, officers, and leaders from over 200 different species. The building itself was enormous. White walls stretched up toward a ceiling so high it seemed to touch the sky. Floating lights drifted through the air like lazy fireflies. Students of all shapes and sizes walked through the corridors. Some had 4 legs. Some had wings. Some floated without any legs at all. And now, for the first time in the Academy's 3,000-year history, there was a human. Instructor Varel watched from the observation deck above. He was a Methian, a species known for their calm nature and their 4 arms. His skin was pale blue, and his large black eyes never blinked. He had been teaching at the Academy for 40 years. He had seen many strange species come through these doors, but humans were different. Varel remembered the day the Galactic Council discovered Earth. It was 18 cycles ago. A simple survey mission had stumbled upon a small blue planet in an unremarkable solar system. At first, no one paid much attention. Then the survey data came back. The council members had read the reports in silence. Then they had read them again. Some refused to believe what they were seeing. Earth was classified as a Class 12 death world. This was the highest danger rating possible. The planet's gravity was crushing. Most species would struggle to even stand on its surface. The atmosphere was filled with oxygen, a gas so reactive that it could burn through metal over time. The weather was violent and unpredictable. Storms, floods, earthquakes, and volcanic eruptions happened regularly. But the truly terrifying thing was the life on Earth. Every creature on that planet was designed to kill. Predators hunted in packs using complex strategies. Prey animals had evolved poisons, sharp horns, and incredible speed just to survive another day. The oceans were filled with monsters. The jungles were filled with creatures that could kill in a single bite. Even the smallest insects carried deadly diseases. And somehow, in the middle of all this chaos, humans had not only survived but thrived. They had built cities, created technology, and eventually reached the stars. The galaxy did not know what to make of them. Some species feared humans. They believed that any creature from such a violent world must be violent itself. Others were curious. They wanted to study these strange beings who had conquered a planet that should have killed them. The decision to allow a human into the Academy had been controversial. Many council members had argued against it. They said it was too dangerous. They said humans were unpredictable. They said something terrible would happen. But in the end, the vote passed. Earth was a new member of the galactic community. Integration had to begin somewhere. And so Hannah had been chosen. She walked through the main hall now, her footsteps echoing on the polished floor. Other students moved out of her way. They kept their distance, watching her with a mix of fear and curiosity. Hannah noticed this, but said nothing. She had been warned that this would happen. Her instructors back on Earth had prepared her for the isolation, the stares, the whispers. They had told her that she was not just a student. She was an ambassador. Everything she did would shape how the galaxy saw humanity. It was a heavy burden for someone so young. A floating drone appeared in front of her. It projected a holographic map showing the way to the director's office. Hannah followed it through a maze of corridors, passing classrooms and training halls and gardens, filled with plants from 100 different worlds. She finally reached a large, door made of something that looked like glass but felt warm when she touched it. The door slid open. Director Melith sat behind a curved desk. She was a Sciphori, an ancient species known for their wisdom. Her body was thin and delicate, her skin almost transparent. Hana could see the slow pulse of 3 hearts beating inside her chest. Melith studied Hana for a long moment. Her eyes were like pools of silver water. "Welcome to the Academy," Melith said. Her voice was soft, like wind through leaves. "You are the first of your kind to stand in this room." Hana bowed. It was a gesture of respect from her culture. "Thank you, Director. I am honored to be here. Are you afraid?" The question surprised Hana. She thought about it carefully before answering. "No," she said, "but I am aware that others are afraid of me. I hope to change that." Melith's thin lips curved into something like a smile. "An honest answer. That is rare." She pressed a button on her desk. A holographic image appeared in the air between them. It showed Earth spinning slowly, its blue oceans and green continents glowing in the light of its sun. "Your planet is remarkable," Melith said. "We have studied it extensively. The conditions there would kill most species within hours. And yet your people have lived there for hundreds of thousands of years." "It is home," Hana said simply. "We do not think of it as dangerous. It is just normal." Melith nodded slowly. "That is precisely what concerns many of my colleagues. What is normal for you is lethal for the rest of us. Your reflexes, your endurance, your strength, all of these things evolved in response to constant danger. You are, in a very real sense, built for survival in ways that other species cannot match." Hana understood what the director was saying. She had heard these words before. "I will be careful," she said. "I know that I am different. I know that my body can do things that might seem frightening to others. But I am not here to fight. I am here to learn. And I hope that others can learn from me as well." Melith studied her for another long moment. Then she nodded. "Your quarters have been prepared. Your classes begin tomorrow. Instructor Varel will be your primary mentor. He has experience with unusual students." Hana bowed again. "Thank you, Director." As she turned to leave, Melith spoke once more. Double quotes, ha-na. One piece of advice. Hana stopped and looked back. "Not everyone here will welcome you. Some will fear you. Some will hate you simply for what you are. And some may try to test you to see if the stories about Deathworlders are true." Melith's silver eyes were serious. "When that happens, remember why you are here. Remember that you represent your entire species. Every action you take will be judged." Hana met the director's gaze without flinching. "I understand," she said. "I will not forget." She walked out of the office, the door sliding shut behind her. In the corridor, students scattered at her approach, pressing themselves against the walls to let her pass. Hana kept her head high and her expression calm. She had been prepared for this. She had trained for years. She knew the weight on her shoulders. But knowing something and feeling it were two different things. That night, alone in her small quarters, Hana sat by the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, impossibly far away, was Earth, her family, her friends, everything she had ever known. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Tomorrow, her real test would begin. The integration hall was the largest classroom in the academy. It could hold over 500 students at once. The ceiling was made of transparent material that showed the stars above. The seats were arranged in a wide circle, with the instructor's platform in the center. Hana arrived early on her first day. She chose a seat in the third row, not too close to the front, not too far in the back. She placed her datapad on the small desk, attached to her chair, and waited. Other students began to fill the room. They came in groups, talking and laughing in languages that Hana's translator turned into words she could understand. But when they saw her sitting there, the conversation stopped. They found seats far away from her, leaving a wide empty space around the human like she was carrying a disease. Hana pretended not to notice. She kept her eyes on her datapad, reading through the course materials that had been sent to her the night before. Instructor Varel entered the hall exactly on time. His forearms moved gracefully as he walked to the central platform. His pale blue skin seemed to glow under the soft lights. "Welcome to Integration Studies," he said. His voice was calm and measured. "In this class, you will learn how to communicate, cooperate, and coexist with species different from your own. This is not easy. Each of you comes from a unique world with unique customs. What is polite in one culture may be offensive in another. What is normal for you may be terrifying for someone else." His large black eyes swept across the room and paused briefly on Hana. "We have a new student joining us this term. She is the first human to attend this academy. I expect all of you to treat her with the same respect you would show any classmate." A low murmur spread through the hall. Hana felt hundreds of eyes turning toward her. She kept her expression neutral and gave a small nod of acknowledgement. Varel continued with the lesson. He talked about the basics of cross-species communication, the importance of understanding body language, and the dangers of making assumptions based on appearance. Hana took careful notes, grateful for something to focus on besides the stairs. The class lasted 2 hours. When it ended, students began to file out of the hall. Hana gathered her things slowly, in no hurry to navigate the crowded corridors. That was when she heard the heavy footsteps approaching. She looked up and saw a group of 4 students walking toward her. They were Keth, a species she had read about in her preparation materials. The Keth were large and powerful, covered in thick green scales. They came from a mid-gravity world and were known throughout the galaxy for their strength and their pride. The leader of the group was bigger than the others. His scales were darker, almost black at the edges. His yellow eyes were fixed on Hana with an expression she recognized immediately. He was looking at her the way a bully looks at a victim. His name was Dorvan. She would learn this later. For now, he was just a wall of muscle and scales blocking her path. "So this is the Death Worlder," Dorvan said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. "I expected something more impressive." Hana stood up slowly. She was much smaller than him. The top of her head barely reached his chest. But she did not back away. "I am Hana," she said calmly. "Can I help you with something?" Dorvan laughed. It was not a friendly sound. His 3 companions joined in, their rumbling laughter filling the empty hall. "Help me?" "No, little creature. I just wanted to see what all the fuss was about." He leaned down, bringing his face closer to hers. His breath smelled like copper. "The council acts like you humans are so dangerous. But look at you. You are tiny, soft, weak." Hana said nothing. She kept her breathing steady and her muscles relaxed. Every instinct in her body was screaming warnings, but she forced herself to stay calm. "I think the council made a mistake," Dorvan continued. "I think they let a helpless little animal into our academy because they felt sorry for your primitive species." "I am sorry you feel that way," Hana said quietly. "But I did not come here to prove anything to you. I came here to learn." She tried to step around him. Dorvan moved to block her path. "I am not finished talking to you, Death Worlder. Please let me pass." "Or what?" Dorvan grinned, showing rows of sharp teeth. "What will you do, little human?" And then he made his mistake. He reached down and grabbed her forearm. His grip was strong, his scaled fingers digging into her skin. He pulled her toward him, yanking her off balance. "I want to see what makes you so special." He never finished the sentence. Hana's body moved before her mind could catch up. It was pure reflex, trained into her muscles through years of practice on a world where hesitation meant death. Her free hand shot up and seized Dorvan's elbow. Her fingers found the joint, the weak point where the scales were thinnest. She twisted with her whole body, using his own momentum against him. The crack was loud. It echoed through the empty hall like a gunshot. Dorvan screamed. It was a sound of pure agony, a sound that no one in the academy had ever heard from a Keth warrior. He collapsed to his knees, his arm bent at an angle that arms were never meant to bend. Blue blood began to seep through the cracks in his scales. His three companions stood frozen in shock. They could not understand what had just happened. One moment Dorvan had been in complete control. The next moment he was on the ground. His elbow completely destroyed. The whole thing had taken less than 1 second. Hana stood over him, her breath slightly faster than normal, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked down at Dorvan with an expression that her translators struggled to process. It was regret. "I am sorry," she said quietly. "You startled me." Instructor Varel burst into the hall. He had been walking in the corridor outside when he heard the scream. His forearms spread wide in alarm as he took in the scene. Dorvan on his knees, clutching his shattered arm. 3 Keth students standing like statues. And the small human female, barely out of breath, looking down at the warrior she had just crippled. "What happened here?" Varel demanded. "He grabbed me," Hana said. Her voice was steady but soft. "I reacted. I could not stop myself in time." Varel looked at Dorvan, then at Hana, then at the security drone that was already hovering nearby, recording everything. "Medical team to the integration hall," he said into his communicator. "We have an injury. Severe." Hana stepped back, giving the medical team room to work when they arrived. She watched as they carefully lifted Dorvan onto a floating stretcher. He was still moaning in pain, his yellow eyes wide with shock and something else. Fear. For the first time in his life, Dorvan was afraid. The other students in the corridor had gathered to watch. Word was already spreading through the academy. The human had attacked a Keth. No, the Keth had attacked the human. No, the human had broken his arm with her bare hands in less than a heartbeat. The stories grew wilder with each telling, but the truth was simple, and it was captured on the security footage that would be reviewed hundreds of times in the coming days. Keth warrior had grabbed a human without warning, and the human had responded the only way her body knew how. With violence so fast and so precise that it was over before anyone could blink. Varel escorted Hana to the director's office himself. He did not speak during the long walk through the corridors, but he kept glancing at the small human walking beside him. He had studied the reports about Earth. He had read about human reflexes, human strength, human endurance. He had thought he understood what those words meant. He had been wrong. Now he understood why the council was afraid, and for the first time in his long career, Instructor Varel felt a chill run down his spine when he looked at a student. Hana walked calmly beside him, her face showing nothing but quiet sadness. She had not wanted this. She had not chosen to hurt anyone, but her body had been built by millions of years of evolution on a world that was trying to kill her every single day. And when that body sensed danger, it did not ask permission. It simply acted. The director's office felt smaller than before. Hana sat in a chair designed for species much larger than humans. Her feet did not touch the floor. Her hands rested in her lap, still and calm. Director Melith sat behind her curved desk, her transparent skin showing the slow rhythm of her 3 hearts. Beside her stood a holographic display, showing the security footage from the integration hall. The same 1-second clip played over and over on a loop, Dorvan grabbing Hana's arm, Hana's hand moving to his elbow. The twist, the crack, Dorvan falling, less than 1 second. Again and again and again. The Keth delegation has already contacted us, Melith said. Her voice was calm, but there was tension beneath it. They are demanding your immediate expulsion from the academy. Hana nodded slowly. I understand. Some are calling for criminal charges, assault, grievous bodily harm. Melith paused. There is talk of this becoming a diplomatic incident between Earth and the Keth Dominion. Hana's expression did not change, but something flickered in her eyes. Fear, perhaps, or sadness. It was hard to tell. Do you have anything to say in your defense? Melith asked. Hana was quiet for a moment. She looked at the holographic display, watching herself break Dorvan's arm for the 100th time. May I explain something, Director? About humans? About Earth? Melith gestured for her to continue. Hana took a deep breath. She had practiced this speech many times during her training. She had hoped she would never need to use it. On Earth, she began, we did not evolve at the top of the food chain. For most of our history, we were prey. We were hunted by creatures much larger and stronger than us. Creatures with claws and fangs and speed that we could not match. She paused, gathering her thoughts. The only reason we survived was because we developed reflexes. Fast reflexes. Reflexes that acted before our conscious mind could even understand what was happening. When a predator attacked, we did not have time to think. We had to react instantly, or we died. Melith listened without interrupting. These reflexes are still part of us, Hana continued. They are written into our muscles, our nerves, our very DNA. We cannot remove them. They are what we are. She looked up at the director, her dark eyes serious. When Dorvan grabbed my arm, my body did not see a Keth student. My body saw a predator attacking, and it responded the only way it knows how. It responded with violence. You are saying you could not control it, Melith said. Hana shook her head. No, Director. I'm saying I did control it. As much as I could. She pointed at the holographic display. Watch the footage again. Look at where I struck him. Melith turned to the display. She slowed the footage down until it moved frame by frame. Hana's hand moving toward Dorvan, her fingers finding his elbow. The precise angle of the twist. I hit his joint, Hana said. Only his joint. I did not strike his throat. I did not strike his skull. I did not gouge his eyes or crush his windpipe. Any of those strikes would have killed him. Melith's silver eyes widened slightly. In that fraction of a second, my body had already decided to attack. But some part of my mind was still working. Some part of me chose the least dangerous target. I chose to hurt him instead of killing him. The room was silent. Director, I have trained for years to control these reflexes. Every human who leaves Earth goes through the same training. We learn to redirect our instincts, to choose less lethal responses, to stop ourselves before we cause serious harm. Hana's voice grew quieter. But we cannot turn these instincts off completely. We can only manage them. And sometimes, when we are surprised, when we are scared, the old reflexes take over. She looked down at her hands. Small hands. Soft hands. Hands that had just shattered the arm of a warrior twice her size. I am sorry for what I did to Dorvan. I truly am. But if you want to blame someone, blame the planet that made me. Blame the millions of years of evolution that turned my body into a weapon. Blame the fact that my ancestors had to fight every single day just to survive long enough to have children. She met Melith's gaze again. But do not blame me for being what I am. I did not choose this. None of my people did. Melith was quiet for a long time. Her 3 hearts pulsed slowly beneath her transparent skin. Finally, she spoke. Show me the footage analysis. A technician standing in the corner stepped forward. He was a Fanari, a species with 5 eyes and a crest of colorful feathers on their head. His name was Supervisor Cole, and he was responsible for reviewing all security footage in the academy. "We have analyzed the incident in detail," Cole said. His voice was high and musical. The human's response time was approximately 0.3 seconds from first contact to completed strike. This is faster than any species currently enrolled in the academy. Faster than most species on record. He pulled up a new display showing the angles of Hana's movement. The strike itself was remarkably precise. The human targeted the exact point where the Keth scales are thinnest, at the elbow joint. She applied rotational force in a direction that maximized damage to the joint while minimizing risk to the surrounding tissue. This is not random violence. This is trained combat technique executed at superhuman speed. Melith studied the analysis carefully. "You are saying she chose this outcome?" "In a manner of speaking, yes." Cole's feathers rippled nervously. The human could have killed the Keth easily. The same strike applied to the throat or skull would have been fatal. Instead, she chose a target that would incapacitate without killing. In 0.3 seconds. "Yes, Director." Melith turned back to Hana. "You made this choice consciously? In less than half a second?" Hana shook her head. "Not consciously. It was trained reflex. My body knows where to strike to kill, and where to strike to disable. When I am surprised, my body chooses based on the level of threat it perceives. Dorvan did not seem like a lethal threat, so my body chose a non-lethal response. And if he had seemed like a lethal threat..." Hana was silent for a moment. When she spoke, her voice was very quiet. "Then he would be dead, Director. And I would not have been able to stop it." The weight of those words hung in the air. Melith turned to her communication console. She pressed several buttons, connecting to other members of the Academy's Leadership Council. "I am sending you the security analysis," she said. "Please review it before we make any decisions about the human student." Over the next hour, the analysis was reviewed by dozens of officials. The Keth delegation was shown the footage and the technical breakdown. They watched Hana's precise strike, her controlled response, her immediate expression of regret. They saw that their warrior had started the confrontation. They saw that he had grabbed the human without warning or permission. And they saw that the human had, in that impossible fraction of a second, chosen to spare his life. The demands for expulsion grew quieter. The calls for criminal charges faded away. In their place came something else. Something that spread through the academy like cold water seeping into cracks. Fear. Not fear of what Hana had done. Fear of what she could have done. Fear of what any human could do if pushed too far. Hana sat alone in her quarters that night. She had not been expelled. She had not been charged with any crime. The investigation would continue, but for now, she was free to remain at the academy. It did not feel like a victory. She looked at her hands again. She could still feel the memory of Dorvan's elbow giving way beneath her fingers. The sound of the crack echoed in her mind. She had hurt someone, badly, and even though she had not chosen to do it, even though her body had acted on its own, she was still responsible. This was the burden that every human carried. They were walking weapons. Living survivors of a world that had spent millions of years trying to kill them. And no matter how hard they trained, no matter how careful they were, sometimes the violence came out anyway. Hana closed her eyes and pressed her forehead against the cold window. She had a long way to go before the galaxy would trust humanity, but she would not give up. She could not give up. Too much depended on her success. News spread through the academy faster than light through empty space. By the next morning, every student knew what had happened in the integration hall. The story changed with each telling. Some said the human had attacked without reason. Others said she had been defending herself from a mob. Some claimed she had used a hidden weapon. Others said she had torn the Keth's arm completely off. But one thing remained constant in every version of the story. A small human female had defeated a Keth warrior in less time than it took to draw breath, and she had apologized afterward. Hana felt the weight of the stairs as she walked to her morning class. Before the incident, students had avoided her out of vague fear of the unknown. Now they avoided her because they had seen what she could do. The empty space around her grew even wider. Some students pressed themselves flat against the walls as she passed, their eyes wide with terror. She pretended not to notice. She kept her head high and her expression calm. But inside, her heart ached. This was not what she wanted. This was not why she had come here. She found her seat in the integration hall and waited for the lesson to begin. The seats around her remained empty. Not a single student was willing to sit within 10 meters of her position. Instructor Varel entered and began his lecture. His forearms moved gracefully as he spoke about conflict resolution and peaceful communication. But his large black eyes kept drifting toward Hana, and she could see the new wariness in his gaze. He was afraid of her now, too. When the class ended, Hana gathered her things slowly. She was in no hurry to walk through corridors full of frightened students. "Excuse me." Hana looked up. A Fenari student stood a few meters away, her 5 eyes blinking nervously. Her feathered crest was raised high on her head, a gesture that Hana's translation software identified as a sign of respect and curiosity. "My name is Trill," the Fenari said. Her voice was soft and musical. "May I speak with you?" Hana was surprised. No one had approached her willingly since her arrival at the academy. She nodded slowly. "Of course." Trill moved closer, though she still kept a careful distance. Her feathers rippled with nervous energy. "I saw the footage," Trill said. "Everyone has seen it. It has been viewed over 1,000,000 times on the Academy network." Hana winced. "I'm sorry if it frightened you." "It did frighten me," Trill admitted. "But that is not why I am here. I am here because I want to understand." "Understand what?" Trill's 5 eyes studied Hana's face. "Why did you apologize? After you hurt the Keth, why did you say sorry?" Hana considered the question carefully. "Because I did not want to hurt him. It happened too fast for me to stop it, but that does not mean I am happy about it. He's injured because of me. That deserves an apology." Trill tilted her head, confused. "But he attacked you first. He grabbed you without permission. By the laws of most species, you were within your rights to defend yourself." "I know, but being within my rights does not make me feel better about breaking someone's arm." Trill was quiet for a moment. Then she asked another question. "On your world, is violence common?" Hana sighed. It was a question she had been asked many times during her training. She had prepared many different answers, depending on who was asking. "It used to be," she said honestly. "For most of our history, violence was how we solved problems. Wars, battles, fighting for territory, for resources, for survival. We hurt each other constantly." Trill's crest flattened with unease. "But we have spent thousands of years trying to be less violent," Hana continued. "We built laws and governments to control conflict. We created sports and games to channel our aggressive instincts into harmless competition. We developed art and music and stories to express our emotions without hurting anyone." She paused, choosing her next words carefully. "The instincts are still there. We cannot remove them. They are part of what makes us human. But we have learned to manage them. Most of the time, we succeed. And when you do not succeed," Hana looked down at her hands, "then people get hurt. Like Dorvan." Trill moved a little closer. She was still nervous, but curiosity was winning over fear. "May I ask another question?" "Yes. Why did you come here? To a place full of species you might accidentally harm?" Hana smiled slightly. It was a sad smile, but genuine. Because we have to start somewhere. My people have only been part of the galactic community for 18 cycles. We are new to all of this. We need to learn how to exist alongside other species without causing harm. She met Trill's five-eyed gaze. And you need to learn that we are not monsters. We are not mindless killers from a death world. We are people, just like you. We laugh. We cry. We love our families and miss our homes. We just happen to come from a place that was harder than most. Trill was quiet for a long moment. Her feathers shifted through several colors as she processed this information. I believe you, she said finally. I do not understand you, but I believe you. It was the first friendly thing anyone had said to Hana since she arrived at the academy. She felt a warmth spread through her chest. Thank you. Thank you. Trill, that means more than you know. Later that afternoon, Dorvan was released from the medical bay. His arm was encased in a regeneration cast, a tube of pale blue material that would slowly repair the shattered joint over the next several weeks. He walked stiffly, his yellow eyes dull with lingering pain and medication. But he was alive. And his arm would heal. Word spread quickly that Dorvan was out of medical care. Students gathered in the corridors, pretending not to watch as the Keth warrior made his way through the academy. Everyone wanted to see what would happen next. Dorvan's three companions walked beside him, their scales bristling with anger. They whispered to him, urging him to demand justice, to file formal complaints, to make the human pay for what she had done. But Dorvan said nothing. He just kept walking. He found Hana in the academy gardens, sitting alone on a bench beneath a tree from some distant world. She was reading something on her datapad, her face calm and focused. She looked up when she heard his heavy footsteps. Her body tensed slightly, ready to react, but she forced herself to remain seated. Dor van stopped a few meters away. His companions hung back, watching. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Dorvan lowered his head. It was a Keth gesture of acknowledgement, used between equals who had faced each other in combat. Human, he said. His voice was rough with pain, but there was no anger in it. Ha-Na stood slowly. She met his gaze without flinching. I should not have touched you without permission, Dorvan said. This was my failing. I treated you as prey when you are clearly a warrior. Hana bowed in return, a gesture of respect from her own culture. And I should have warned everyone about human reflexes before the semester began. That was my failing. I am sorry for your injury. Dorvan studied her for a long moment. His yellow eyes showed a complex mix of emotions, pain, respect, and something else that took a moment to identify. Humility. My people have been warriors for 6,000 years, Dorvan said. We have conquered worlds. We have defeated enemies far larger and stronger than ourselves. We believed ourselves to be among the greatest fighters in the galaxy. He paused, looking at his injured arm, and then a creature half my size, from a planet we had never heard of, broke my arm before I could blink. Hana said nothing. There was nothing to say. I have learned a lesson today, Dorvan continued. A lesson my pride did not want me to learn. Size is not strength. History is not power. And the galaxy is much larger and more dangerous than I ever imagined. He raised his head and met Hana's eyes. I will not forget this lesson. And I will not forget you, Hana of Earth. He turned and walked away, his companions following in stunned silence. Hana watched him go. Then she sat back down on her bench and let out a long, slow breath. It was not friendship. Not yet. But it was something, a beginning. A crack in the wall of fear that separated humans from the rest of the galaxy. And as Hana looked up at the strange stars above the academy, she allowed herself to feel a small spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this could work. Maybe humans and aliens could learn to understand each other. Maybe the violence of her past did not have to define her future. It would take time. It would take patience. It would take many more difficult conversations and painful mistakes. But Hannah was willing to try, for Earth, for humanity, for the chance at a better future. She would keep trying until she succeeded. 6 months passed at the academy. Hannah attended every class. She completed every assignment. She participated in group projects with students who gradually learned to work beside her without fear. She ate meals in the common hall, answered questions about Earth, and slowly, carefully, built relationships with the aliens around her. It was not easy. There were setbacks along the way. Once, a Methian student accidentally bumped into her in a crowded corridor. Hannah's hand shot out and grabbed his arm before she could stop herself. She did not hurt him, but the fear in his eyes haunted her for days. Another time, a loud noise in the training hall made her dive to the ground and roll into a defensive position. Everyone stared. Some laughed nervously. Others simply backed away. But there were victories too. Trill became her first real friend at the academy. The Fenari student asked endless questions about Earth, about human culture, about the strange world that had produced such dangerous but fascinating creatures. Hannah answered honestly, hiding nothing about the violence in her species' past or the dangers that still lurked in their instincts. Dorvan, surprisingly, became something like an ally. He did not forget his humiliation, but he channeled it into respect. When other students spoke badly about humans, Dorvan was often the first to shut them down. "You do not know what you are talking about," he would say, holding up his regenerated arm. "I have faced a Deathworlder in combat." "Have you?" The silence that followed was always satisfying. But the true test came at the end of the semester, when the Galactic Council requested a formal report on the human integration experiment. Hannah was called to testify before a committee of representatives from dozens of species. She stood alone in a vast chamber, surrounded by floating platforms where aliens of every shape and size watched her. With suspicious eyes, Director Melith introduced her. Instructor Varel presented the data from her academic performance. Supervisor Cole showed footage of her progress throughout the semester. And then the questions began. "How can we trust that humans will not attack us?" asked a skeletal creature from a low-gravity world. "Your species is built for violence. Your reflexes, your instincts, everything about you is designed to kill." Hannah took a deep breath. She had prepared for this question. "You are right," she said. "We are designed for survival. Our planet gave us no choice. But the same evolution that made us dangerous also made us adaptable. We learned to control our instincts. We built civilizations based on cooperation instead of conflict. We developed empathy, compassion, and love alongside our capacity for violence." She paused, looking around the chamber. "Every species in this room has the capacity for harm. The Keth are stronger than humans. The Methians have 4 arms that could strangle any creature. The Fenari have claws that could cut through flesh like paper. But you do not judge each other by your capacity for violence. You judge each other by your choices." The chamber was silent. "Humans choose peace," Hannah continued. "Not because we are incapable of war, but because we have seen where war leads. We have spent centuries fighting ourselves. We have learned, through terrible suffering, that cooperation is better than conflict." She straightened her shoulders and spoke clearly. "We ask only that you judge us by our actions, not by our origins. Give us the chance to prove ourselves. We will not disappoint you." The debate that followed lasted for hours. Representatives argued back and forth about the risks and benefits of human integration. Some called for immediate expulsion of all humans from galactic society. Others argued for continued observation and careful expansion. In the end, the vote was close. But it passed. Humanity would remain part of the galactic community. Hana was told the news by Director Melith personally. The ancient Sephori showed something that might have been a smile. The ancient smile. You have done well, Hana of Earth. You have accomplished something that many believed impossible. You have changed minds. Hana bowed deeply. Thank you, Director. But I have only begun. There is still much work to be done. Yes, there is. That is why I have a proposal for you. Melith pressed a button on her desk. A holographic display appeared, showing a map of the galaxy with dozens of marked locations. The Council has approved the creation of a new diplomatic position. A cultural attaché responsible for building relationships between humanity and other species. We need someone who understands both worlds. Someone who can explain humans to aliens and aliens to humans. She looked at Hana with her silver eyes. We want you. Hana stared at the map. She saw the Keth Dominion, the Methian Collective, the Fanari Alliance. She saw hundreds of worlds filled with billions of beings who had never met a human. It will be dangerous work, Melith continued. You will face fear and hostility wherever you go. Many will try to test you, just as Dorvan did. Some may try to harm you. I understand. And you will be alone. Far from Earth. Far from your family and friends. For years, perhaps decades. Hana was quiet for a long moment. She thought about her home, her parents, the friends she had left behind, the life she might never return to. Then she thought about the future, about the galaxy that was slowly, reluctantly, opening its doors to humanity, about all the work that remained to be done. I will do it, she said. 3 months later, Hana left the academy. She traveled first to the Methian Collective, where she spent 2 years teaching officials about human customs and learning about their own. Then she went to the Keth Dominion, where Dorvan himself served as her guide through a culture built on combat and honor. Then to the Fanari Alliance, where Trill helped her navigate the complex web of family relationships that governed their society. Everywhere she went, she taught the same lessons. Humans are dangerous. This is true. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day of our evolution. Our reflexes are fast. Our endurance is high. Our capacity for violence is real. But we have chosen to be gentle. We have chosen to be kind. We have chosen against every instinct. To build instead of destroy. To heal instead of hurt. To love instead of hate. Do not fear us because of what we could do. Trust us because of what we choose not to do. Years passed. Then decades. Hana grew older. Her black hair turned gray. Her movements slowed. But her mind remained sharp. And her message never changed. Other humans followed in her footsteps. Diplomats, scientists, artists, teachers, each. One carried the same burden and the same hope that Hana had carried. The forum. And slowly, gradually, the galaxy began to change. Fear gave way to curiosity. Suspicion gave way to trust. The walls that separated humans from other species began to crumble, one brick at a time. Instructor Varel kept one piece of footage saved in his personal files. He showed it to every new class of students during their first week at the academy. It was the recording of Hana breaking Dorvan's arm. Less than 1 second of perfect, terrible efficiency. This, Varel would say, is why we study Deathworlders. Not to fear them, but to understand that they have chosen, against every instinct, to be gentle. He would pause, letting the lessons sink in. When a human offers you their hand in friendship, take it carefully. Not because they might hurt you, but because that gesture of peace is a gift, earned through millions of years of pain and struggle. They survived a world that should have destroyed them, and they came out the other side with their hearts intact. That is not weakness. That is the greatest strength the galaxy has ever seen. The recording would end. The lights would come up. And a new generation of students would begin their journey toward understanding. Hana never returned to Earth. She died on a distant world, surrounded by friends from a dozen different species. Her last words were simple. "We did it," she whispered. "We showed them who we really are." She closed her eyes for the final time, and somewhere across the galaxy, on a small blue planet called Earth, a new generation of humans prepared to take their place among the stars. They carried with them the same hopes, the same fears, and the same choice that Hana had made so many years before. To be dangerous, and to be kind, to survive, and to love. This was humanity's gift to the universe, and the universe, at last, was ready to receive it.